This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's pod. This is a show for the week of December 4th, 2023. And we're in the last month of the year, Phil, and we've got so much that we need to cover. There's a lot of news this week. Yes. And the first thing being the walls are coming down in Epcot. There's a new fireworks show tonight. I mean, we're recording this the day before, but as you're listening to this, it is tonight.
You're listening to it, yes.
At least. This is when it's coming out. And I am like super excited. We got Luminous, we got World of Celebration, which we're going to talk about first, but then we've got the Hatbox Ghost that's coming into play. There's all sorts of stuff ramping up for the holidays, and I feel I just don't know where to start. So where should we start with all this information? Are we doing the Epcot stuff? Because I think
so. That makes the most sense. Yep.
So all right, the walls are coming down. The Communicore building is not ready yet.
That's where the new like meet and greet and like the band stage and stuff like that is going to be. So that won't be there. And I think now that there's no way that's going to get done by the end of the year, that might go a little slow from here. They might be kind of done for the year. That'll probably be sometime in the first quarter. But it'll be lovely to have those walls down and be able to actually walk through the middle of the former Future World, now World Celebration, but the center of Epcot, that you'll be able to go from east to west and not have to go through a maze of plywood.
So there's a couple things. So everybody in the world got to see some of the pictures. I think some of the media got to walk through, take some shots. We have some amazing cast members.
So Epcot cast members were able to preview today as well. Yep.
So they got to take some pictures and share them, which is really cool. So, I mean, there was no major reveal, right? Because we've been seeing monorail shots forever. I think once the walls come down, it's just going to be an amazing just view from like entering the park and walking through it. What was your first impression, Phil, of kind of seeing a lot of these things up and close?
So my first impression was I noticed in the photos a lot of like benches and tables and just a lot of areas to sit, which is great because I think Epcot needs more of that. And ever since the concept drawing from this version of Epcot, it made me think like this is going to be a really cool place to chill out. Like, yes, we've been talking for a while now, but like the vacation in the vacation, this seems like a great spot to have your vacation in the vacation of your Epcot day. And so that was the first thing that jumped out at me.
Well, let's stay with that one because I think that's an interesting one because I saw shots of like there's like picnic benches that are like kind of tucked in between.
Yeah,
like, villages. Like, so I had two immediate reactions to that. The loving aspect of me is like, oh, this is gorgeous. This is awesome. This looks like comfy, cozy. The second part of me is like, that bench is never going to be available to sit down. There's going to be people like swarming around. I don't think there's going to be people swarming because people are going to be off doing other things in the park.
Right.
So I think that I thought that looked amazing. And I think I responded to you on some social media platform somewhere. So the World Showcase is now asking for some of these upgrades as well. Because I think little pieces of like this park structure scattered throughout the World Showcase would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it'll be super useful during festivals because I know like the Odyssey area was really great to like sit in the air conditioning and sit down and grab some food from different places. And I know more of festival booths have been moving into the World Celebration area, but I fully agree. If they had, one or two spots around World Showcase that were almost like beer garden type areas with benches and stuff like that, I think that would be a huge hit.
So there's a couple. I think it's universally praised as looking like a nice space. I think one of the main, I don't know if you want to call it nitpick or complaint or negative connotation, is everybody wants a fountain in the middle. What do you think about that? Do they need it?
Yeah.
Do you think they need a fountain?
I don't know if they need it. It just feels like they took away the Fountain of Nations that everybody loved, and they even made.
But you got Journey of Water right next to it, though.
Right, and they did make a point like when they closed down the Fountain of Nations, they like collected some of the water from that because that had been brought in from all the different nations around World Showcase, and they're like, we'll bring this to the next fountain, and now there is no next fountain. But they do have the fountain, they added in the front of the park, with the pylons and stuff like that. And like you said, there's Journey of Water, so there's obviously a lot of water there. That middle spot does kind of look like it. In some ways, it was a filled-in fountain, like it could be a fountain area. So part of me does wish there was even a small fountain. But I think over time, we'll get used to it, and it'll get appreciated for what it is versus what it isn't.
Somebody pointed out in the concept art that center planter or whatever you want to call it had a lot of different festival like icons coming out of it. I think it's going to be a space where they kind of put like, how in the front of the park they have like, the launch of Festival of the Holidays or Festival of the Arts and whatever it might be spring. I think that a lot of that will go there. So as you're walking around, it'll be like a main like icon or showpiece of the celebration going around.
Yeah, there was one like photo angle they shot that was from a little further back that had like that area. I think you could see the Walt statue a little bit in the back, and then you saw like Spaceship Earth and stuff like that. It's like that's going to become like a major photo pass spot, and like you said, I could see some of like the festival stuff kind of being in that too.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that complaint for people is that I don't like calling it a complaint because there's a lot of people are complimentary of it as well. I think that thought process or comment, I should say, on that is that I think it's incomplete. At least I hope it is, right? Yeah. I think they plan on plussing that up the next time a festival comes around. And I don't think they'll do it for the Festival of the Holidays unless that surprises us. Yeah, because it's already started. But I think people are seeing for what it is now and not what it's going to look like when the Communicore building is ready to go. Because that's another thing. A lot of people are commenting like, well, it's very pretty, but it looks like a sterile college campus kind of garden feel. I disagree with that. First of all, I think it's quite lovely, but the whole entertainment section that's right there is closed. I think there's going to be like a lot of food, a lot of entertainment that's going to be leading in from there. And that's where people can kind of go and relax while the entertainment's going on.
Yeah, I agree. And then the other thing is we haven't seen it at night yet. There's a lot. Okay. There's a lot of lighting features throughout it. And we have seen a little bit of teases that the lighting in the whole area is going to kind of pair with what's going on Spaceship Earth and stuff like that. So I think it's going to look amazing at night.
I think there's going to be a lot of cool things to do at Epcot at night. I mean, right now, everybody at night is just going around the world, going to food booths, drinking, and all that other kind of nonsense in the festivals. And people kind of leave the front of the park alone once it gets getting dark. Now, I think with live entertainment, which I know they're going to be putting there, more festival-oriented stuff, and the lights and everything else, I think that's going to be kind of like a happening place. And I think right now what we're looking at is an empty space because they haven't added anything to it yet.
Yes.
Who knows? There might be wandering entertainment or singers or other stuff kind of go floating around the middle too. But another thing that people were commenting on was it looks great, but it looks too narrow, and it's not going to feed the crowds of people that are going to be coming through it. So what do you think about the
I think it's just really, I saw some people that go, oh, they didn't take that into account and stuff. I'm like, first of all, they've done this before. Like, I'm sure they took that into account, that people, like how many people are going to be moving through here. And we're just seeing it in still pictures and stuff like that. I'm sure tomorrow will be nuts with all the vloggers got to get their photo with the Walt statue and stuff like that. But I think over time people will get used to it and they'll know it's not going to be like a pinch point or anything. There's tons of different paths. I mean, they survived Epcot with no paths, right? And now there's some paths, so I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think it's a place people are going to be lingering in mass because people are going to be wanting to go to the shops, the restaurants, the rides and attractions. And I don't think it's just going to be. I don't think it's going to be anything like the hub for like fireworks at Magic
No, for sure
at all. I think there'll be plenty of lines for photo ops in the center there, and I think they really need to figure out like where they're going to stage people taking pictures. I think those pictures are going to be absolutely awesome that you're going to be able to take there.
Yeah, I am really interested in how they do crowd control for the Walt statue and stuff like that.
But is it going to be like, even if you look at Magic Kingdom on some of the busier days, the lines for the Walt statue aren't really that long. There's usually 2 PhotoPass members taking pictures right there. And they're usually like 5 to 8 people deep on both sides. And that's not to me, that's not a lot. Right? It's not like a line wrapped around the corner type of thing. So that'll definitely be interesting on how they do things. with the center air. Anything else we want to cover with it until we finally get to? Because I was trying to be like, I don't want to look at it, even though I looked at it and I'm going to be experiencing it in.
I guess the only other thing I'll mention, it was revealed too that the new background music loop that Pinar Toprak, hope I'm saying her name right, is also going to debut tomorrow. So it's going to be kind of like the big new reveal of Epcot is going to be tomorrow. And then obviously we haven't talked about Luminous yet, but that's going to debut tomorrow night as well.
Yeah, I can't wait. And then the other big thing that's happening tomorrow too is obviously Luminous is debuting. Yeah. Phil, if you were me, would you watch the live stream tomorrow night?
I would try not to, but I don't think I could keep myself from doing it.
That's what I've been tackling with all day. It's like, all right, I definitely should probably not watch it because I'm going to be there in, the 17th is my first Epcot day. And I'm like, would it be awesome to like walk into this not seeing anything and kind of experiencing it live? And I'm like, I really want to watch it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like I want to participate in all this.
I think it would be, exactly. You're going to be missing out on all that where you're going to be like, well, I can't really comment. I didn't watch it, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's going to be hard not to. I mean, maybe I would try my best not to watch it like the entire thing in one sitting. I might try to just watch more clips or something, but it's hard.
It's going to be an event type of thing for us Disney nerds online,
exactly
watching it, that type of thing. So you're talking me into watching it, so I'm probably going to do it. And the experience in person is going to be completely different anyway. So
absolutely,
you're ruining it at all. So anyway, there was a couple of people that had seen it that were kind of commenting it from like I guess last night's test of it.
Yes,
and it was getting pretty rave reviews by some people.
Yeah, I mean, I think these are my understanding is the people who are concierge or like do tours and stuff like that were able to see it earlier. So it's people connected to Disney. They're obviously going to be a little bit biased, but it was overwhelmingly positive. And then even from, people who are watching the tests of it from outside and stuff, obviously it's not the full perspective, but it seems to be, that even like some of the kind of the more pessimistic doubting people are like, I think they might have gotten this one right. So yeah, I guess we'll find out. We're definitely, I would say even more than cautiously, we're optimistic for this. Nothing's a guarantee, but I think people are going in optimistic for it.
Yeah, with all the reports paired with the really awesome Disney Parks blog video that was posted.
Yes,
was it behind the scenes of Luminous? I think it was actually titled. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend you watch it as soon as possible before you watch the next stream.
And they should have seen it because I tweeted it out, and everyone who listening follows us, right? So.
Yes, absolutely. It's posted everywhere on social media. So if you're part of Disney in any way online, it's been posted somewhere. It's only like 4-ish minutes long.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
You get to see some of the Imagineers, people that are like fountain technicians and laser engineers, and like and
I wanted to show my kids like you could be a laser engineer.
Yeah,
it's like that just sounds cool. I mean, a little Dr. Evil-ish, but sounds cool.
Yeah. But then like you get to see that, and you saw some of the background with the spotlights in the car. So let's go through some of that. Like we saw some of the spotlights kind of going up. They really reminded me of like supercharged, like harmonious kind of spotlights all in the middle. I thought that was great. We saw some fat ones like squiggling around with a lot of color. I really love
it. Had a lot. I mean, I don't know if it's because of the word color, but it reminded me a little bit of. Obviously, it's a very different show technology, but of World of Color.
Yes.
Over at Disney California Adventure.
Yeah, and I thought that was gorgeous. Big things with the lasers, like we said before. It's not like just like lasers shooting out. They're using it different blends of colors and stuff like that. That looked really cool. And we only got like 2 seconds of like views for each one of these things, but from that video. And then Phil, the best part of that video is you had a gentleman that was one of the, I guess, project manager or
I think so, yeah, or show project leads or something.
Stage manager.
I think that's what. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he was an awesome gentleman that's just kind of like, let me show you the barges coming in. Let me show you some of the operations. And his whole part wasn't like, let me show you this for no reason just because I think it's cool. He said, let me show you this because we're showing you that we're moving the barges in every day. We're taking them out every day. Not too subtle hint from one of the major complaints about the harmonious barges. And then he says, look, they form a hexagon. So if you're standing here and then you go over to Mexico, it's the same exact thing. If you go over to Germany, it's the same exact thing. And I'm like, that's because the major complaint from Harmonious, you can only see it from 2 different spots. So I thought it was funny on Disney's part to like somewhat subtly like remind people that yes, they were listening and we understand your major complaints. So that does 2 things for me. I mean, A, it makes me laugh, and B, at least to me, I mean, this might be my whimsy, this might be my optimism speaking, but if they're listening to this, because there's quite a turnaround of canceling Harmonious and pushing this through, right?
Oh, for sure.
That the future for whatever they're building, planning, they're taking a lot of feedback in, and maybe that's going to be expanding the parks and adding new rides and attractions and pricing things, and however they slowly move to upgrading things, that they're listening to guests and then they agree to that. And there's not just penny pinchers and just like strict bottom line people making decisions. There's some creativity back. So do we want to give Bob Iger some credit with this, or Josh D'Amaro credit? We're in a cycle of cynicism, and we're not believing what anybody says. But I like to want to say that maybe there's a little bit in there of hope for the future of the Disney parks here in the U.S. Final predictions, Phil, before we go into this, because we'll talk about this next week as the show's debuted and we've seen it, and I have not been able to hold out not seeing it, so I'll have been watching it for sure. What do you think are the reactions going to be across the community for the most part?
Yeah, I was going to say for the most part, because no matter what it is, there's going to be some negative takes because everybody has their negative takes. I think for the most part, people are going to be happy with it because it's going to do a lot of the things that they didn't like about Harmonious. But even for the people who liked Harmonious, it's going to have the Disney stuff. It's going to be a little bit more. It's not going to be as like kind of quiet and serene as some of the parts of like Illuminations that some people found boring. I don't think it's necessarily going to have a lot of those moments. I think it's going to strike that right balance where between Harmonious and Illuminations, where maybe not the people who absolutely loved each of those is going to be as strong about it, but 90% of the people are going to really like it. So I think that's going to be the general consensus, is that, maybe not the other shows, maybe some people are giving it like an A+ and other people are giving it an F. I think like everybody's going to give this like an A or something like that.
I mean, everybody gave Harmonious an A. I mean, it rated basically a 4 out of 5 for the most part, right? I mean, it was just a low 4 versus a high 4. I mean, I tend to agree with you. I think most people are going to find it amazingly well. I think it has a lot of pyro to satisfy the pyromaniacs.
I think the big thing, and sorry to step in, is going to be the original songs, how well they resonate with people. And I'm sure some people it's going to hit them right away. Other people will be like, I didn't get it. I'm sure there'll be the people that aren't actually seeing it in person yet. But it'll be, I think, how well those really hit people will mean, is this a good show, or is this like, this is going to be the show that lasts like 10 years?
The true test, I think, is how many, the ratio of people that lump everybody that liked it to really loved it, and compare that to a ratio of people that are complaining about IP songs in the show.
Yeah.
And I think that ratio is going to be very high in the favor of people that really love the show. I think the people that are complaining about shoving IP and everything are going to be forgetting all about that and finding a little bit of why they love Disney.
Yeah, there's always going to be some of those people that until there's no IP in Epcot, they're never going to be happy. But I think they're going to be a smaller minority now.
I really want to have a anti-IP person on this podcast so I can debate them for an hour. Because I never understand their point of view on that, and I would really wish I could understand their mentality. I mean, I understand it. No, I'm not getting.
Yeah, we're going.
No, I caught myself.
So let me just ask you one closing question.
Yeah.
Anything you've seen with this, knowing that it's going to be open for a week or 2 weeks, does this change your plans for your trip for touring Epcot? Like, are you going to make a point of like spending more time in this area at night or anything like that maybe you wouldn't have, or were you already planning on it? And so,
I mean, I was already planning. I knew this was going to be open for my trip. I mean, even back 3-4 months ago, I was highly anticipating that this is going to be down for my trip. So I had already planned to go up and see Journey of Water during the day and do all your normal crisscrossing across the park up front. But I was also going to make a special point at least one day, probably multiple days, of doing Living the Land at night so you can see all the lights, Journey of Water at night so you can see the difference because it's also quite beautiful at night, and then obviously walking through World Celebration and kind of just there's going to be like this little night theme of just kind of walking through that front and enjoying our time. And maybe not doing laps around World Showcase, rushing from ride to ride, because I'm not going to have GD Plus. So part of that was exploring the front of the park and all the newness. So definitely, for sure, not changing it because I've already changed my plans because of it.
Okay, so
I put them in.
Everything you saw sort of confirmed your changed plans. Gotcha.
Yeah, the one thing I don't want spoiled, and I'm gonna see the spoilers anyway, is the lighting package at night. I know I'm gonna see a million pictures on Twitter tomorrow night. People have videos and clips and shots of all the colors and everything on, assuming they do that, which I would imagine they're going to do it. So that's gonna be impossible unless I just stay off the computer for like the next 11 days. So, but I'm looking forward to that. The other addition at Disney World was the Hatbox Ghost. We've already talked about the controversy of where it's placed and all this other nonsense. I'll just say this. I dislike the people going out there bashing Imagineers for their work because, how dare they put this in a certain place without knowing any of the details why it's there or why it could be anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I just want to say there was a lot of people poo-pooing it, and those were the people that didn't actually see it. And then there were the people that actually saw it and thought it was quite a nice addition, and it really didn't take anything away from the attraction or any of the other stuff. I'm obviously going to make it a point to see it because I can't go to Disney World without going on the Haunted Mansion.
Sure.
So there's I don't have to do anything different, but I'm looking forward to it for sure. Well, is there anything that you saw in the pictures that would make you say this was a mistake or anything else like that?
I mean, I think I need to ride it to make, kind of feel how it flows and how the story goes. Everything I've seen from the video and the images, it looks great. I think it looks, one thing I like is I've ridden at Disneyland. It had been installed before we got it. So I saw the Hatbox Ghost at Disneyland, and you get to see it for like a split second before you move. This one, you get to, I think, take it in more and really see the effect of, the head moving and stuff. So from that standpoint, I really like it. We could debate the storyline until for the next 10 years or whatever. So maybe it's not the perfect spot from a storyline perspective, but he never really followed the storyline anyway. He's at a really cool spot. He looks cool. I think it's overall a positive addition, and let's just go from there and let's enjoy it.
No, I think
it strikes me as one of those, let's appreciate it for what it is rather than focusing on for what it isn't.
Oh, no, I agree with you. But I just for the viewer's sake or the listener's sake, I don't think there's a story in the Haunted Mansion. That's my take. I don't think it's a linear story. I just think all the fun, crazy, spooky stuff is constantly happening, and you're just happening to see a moment in time as you pass through.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't really care. This is how I enjoy it. All right. So a couple things before we get to our game this week. I want to go to a couple thoughts about my trip planning because I've been boring you about my trip planning, and then I will be boring you with many episodes of trip reports afterwards. A couple things here. If you're planning going during the festival holidays, or you're prepping for your trip, or you're doing any kind of planning, what I like to do, or what I have been doing with my kids, is we put on, some of our favorite bloggers and say, here, let's watch them go to this restaurant. Let's watch them do, the World Showcase and foods, and let's pick out things we want to try. How do you want to do this? Kind of getting my kids involved in the decision-making process. And one of the takes that I got, and I don't know why I was expecting more, but I watched the Tim Tracker, Disney Food Blog, and a couple other random people. Adam LeWoo was on Tim Tracker's. They did like a multi thing. And I don't normally watch Tim Tracker either, but I know he does good content because a lot of people like watching him. And all the videos were really boring. Like these folks need to figure out a way to do like food reviews in the parks better, because Disney Food Blog is just somebody's like fingernails touching food and rotating it in front of the camera, which I think is rather it skeeves me out, right? Long nails and food. I'm just thinking about like what's getting underneath your nails, and they're very clean people. Don't get me wrong. That's my personal hang up. Or you have a bunch of people hanging out just chomping on food and say, "Oh, this is good. Oh, this is kind of dry." I'm like, that's the content I'm looking for, so it's my fault for pressing play on it. But I don't know how to do it better. But I was really boring. Did not help me plan. And it's more like, oh, this is the same thing for every single year. And maybe it could have been the top 3 things to try. Maybe I was hoping to see more walking around Epcot, seeing the decorations, seeing the different storytellers, and not just show the whole storyteller for like 15 minutes in the video.
Gotcha.
But like little pieces of like, I need a guide to Epcot. I don't need a written guide. I mean, just let the kids see it because they're very visual people, and no one did that. It was very, very dull. And I want to say it was only helpful if you want to go through the Food and Wine app that has a festival section that we've talked about before and used last year, and you can kind of check off things as people see things. That's very, very helpful if that's what you want to do. Another thing that I haven't done yet, and I don't know how to do it because there's no one really putting out content for it, is the Disney Springs holiday videos. There's no one doing it other than people doing the Christmas tree stroll, but they're doing the Christmas tree stroll. I'm like, I don't want to watch you do it and then go there and be like, yep, we already saw this Christmas tree. We know where it is. And people are doing like the Olaf stuff. Like, I love playing video games. I watch, like, I take strategy guides and, all this stuff for games that you play. I don't need a strategy guide for where all the Olafs are in World Showcase. Why is this a video? Why are people need to be like? Do you really just want to race through the thing? Like, nobody is keeping you from cheating from this thing. You can just say you found him in all the other places, and you're done. So anyway, the Disney holidays videos were just people doing the stroll. They were kind of just show you everything. Maybe that's great for people that aren't going, but it wasn't helpful for me. That who is going, just kind of showing you where the different things are in the springs and telling you what's due for the holidays, that type of thing. Maybe I'm just overthinking things. I don't know. When you went down last year, Phil, how did you, I guess, plan for holiday stuff, at least in Epcot and Springs? I don't know if you went to Springs. Did you last year?
Yeah, we did. And so we did the Christmas tree stroll. And I think the most thing we did was watch some videos that were people there. I know Mammoth Club seems to do it pretty good because they'll do like, here's a couple trees while they're, and then they'll like go off and show you all the trees and stuff like that. And I think so we watched them, and it was more about like which food and beverages we wanted to try. So I think we mostly watched those videos. Same thing, I think, for Festival of the Holidays. It was more around the food, kind of looking at what are people's reviews. A lot of the videos at the end of the videos, we'll do like, these are our top of the fest or best of the fest, and these are the worst and stuff. So sometimes we'll just like fast forward to the end and kind of see what they say.
I mean,
it is challenging because you watch some of these videos and you're like, oh, this one looks interesting. You're like, oh, it's an hour and 20 minutes long. Yeah, I'm not watching that.
No.
It's like,
I mean, I think the problem is a lot of these vloggers of like, well, this is my 10th Festival of the Holidays video. And it's just like, you could tell that they're bored and you've done this already and they don't bring the excitement, or the excitement's kind of fake. Or you've got people like Disney Food Blog where you have all their employees testing the food, writing the reviews, and then it's Molly just kind of reading her script, right?
Yeah.
She's awesome at what she does, but she wasn't there eating the food, right? So great presentation. I mean, I love all of their content. It's just, I think there needs to be, I think I know if I would live down there and this is my living, I think there's a better way of doing that. But I don't live there, and no one's going to want to watch me walk around with a beer in my hand, chomping down on sushi trees and everything else like that. Other than that, there was one other thing I can't remember a part of my plan. Oh, the Mickey's Christmas party. I don't know how to plan for this party, Phil. And maybe somebody out there can help me. Maybe I'm just overthinking things. We've got the treats we want to try. We know where all the cookies are. We're going to pick one character to do a meet and greet with. And then I have where all the entertainment is time-wise.
I think
that's it, right?
That's it. I mean, that's kind of what we did for the Halloween party was we knew the main entertainment. We knew where it was, where we wanted to be for it. And we kind of planned around that. I think you got it all. I think you're ready to go.
I think I'm like, I've been like staring up, like I haven't done any planning in the last 4 days. I must be missing something. And I'm like, I've got a list of things I need to pick up, like stuff for packing and stuff like that. But I'm like, I don't feel prepared, though. I think my life has prepared me for this point after X amount of
exactly.
Trips.
I mean, it's just
the
trips are. I mean, the parties are a little different, right? You're not. There's no Genie Plus. There's no like. You're not. You maybe you'll do some rides, but it's not like rope drop strategy and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different. But I think you're focusing on the right things, and once you get there, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm just panicking that I'm gonna miss something. I
totally get where you're. That's exactly how I felt. Was like might be the only time we're doing a party. Like it's not cheap. I want to make sure we're getting the most out of it. But I think you have the right plan, and you'll have a great time.
I just remember last year doing Disney Springs or whatever. So we have a list of these snacks, and I spent more time hustling around looking for the snacks rather than just kind of like relaxing and taking in like everything. It also could have been because I just drove for 16 hours and we went right to Disney Springs after like a 2-hour nap. That might be an issue as well. But anyway, I won't bore you anymore with some trip planning. I might give next week, because it'll be the last show before we go down, with some, maybe I'll just do like a 5-minute, like, here's the whole thing, here's what I'm planning to do type of before we start. I come back and we do trip reports. But now, Phil, it's time to play a game. This one's going to be interesting because you saw my answers. I have not seen yours.
Yep.
And this is a different kind of top 3, right? So little preamble on this. I originally was going to do a top 3 things you have to do in each park, because we're going to have like a family thing get together where we're like, what are the top 3 things you have to do at each park? And we're going to kind of list them all. Because we did this 2 months ago and want to kind of reconfirm it. But to me, that comes down to like, here are my top 3 rides, or like 2 rides in a restaurant, or 2 rides in a snack that I have to do. And that's rather boring. We've done that stuff before. There's no right or wrong answers. There's no insight on that. You may or may not care what our top 3 rides are, personally, but I don't think that's interesting. So I renamed this the top 3 priorities at each park on your next trip. Now, these could be things. I explained this to Phil because the title's not very good. Is that these are the top 3 things you have to do and the preparation for going to the park, whether it's 2 months before, the day of, or during the park, right? So I'm going to give you my Magic Kingdom example, Phil, and I'll explain it as I go along. You can comment, or you can go right to yours. See how this goes. So one of my top 3 priorities at Magic Kingdom. So I'm sitting down. I'm at Magic Kingdom, or I'm getting ready to go to Magic Kingdom. I need to have my rope drop strategy right. We are rope dropping Magic Kingdom no matter what, every single trip that we do, as long as it's not like this second day at Magic Kingdom that we're only going in the afternoon with. This is a full day at Magic Kingdom. I need to know exactly what the first 3 rides I'm going to do for that day. Are we doing Mine Train? Are we doing Space Mountain? Are we doing Peter Pan and then going over somewhere else, grabbing something to eat? What are we doing those first 30 minutes? Those need to be basically sketched out in pen, carved in stone. This is what we're doing. And then we just go from there, right? My second one is I always have to do Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm throwing a ride in there. We have to do that at some point. That's like a cannot miss attraction, no matter whenever we go. So, for example, in your there and back again trip with your son next year, if it was Magic Kingdom instead of Epcot, like, okay, we're only there for a couple hours. What are we doing? We have to go on Pirates the 3 hours that we're at the park. Gotcha. That's my thing. And then the other top priority for Magic Kingdom is I have to determine whether or not I'm getting Genie Plus. Like, I have to check that box. We are getting it, so I can get that mentality right for the day. I cannot wake up, decide to get Genie Plus, and then start scrambling with a lot of my like we talked about this before. The vacation. You cannot have a vacation with Genie Plus in your hands. It's impossible. Yeah. Don't come on the show in Discord or on social media and say, I can have a vacation with Genie Plus. I can relax. No, you can't, because your phone's been out of your pocket for at least 6 hours that day trying to modify that ride for the perfect time. And you're lying to yourself and everybody else around you. You cannot have a vacation with Genie Plus. So those are my top 3 priorities. It's basically prepping and my favorite attraction. Hopefully that makes sense. What were your top 3 priorities for Magic Kingdom? Unless you want to yell at me for some of mine.
No. It's all good. They're your priorities. No, they're not. It's interesting coming up when I was thinking about these priorities. The first thought I had was my first inclination was picking 3 things that like I didn't do last trip or something like that. And I didn't want to just do that. I wanted to say, like, just because we did do it last time doesn't mean it's not a priority again. So I tried to get out of that mentality. Mm-hmm. The other thing was I did get a sense that as I was answering this, it was things more around like forcing myself to have more of that vacation in a vacation. Okay. They were more like quieter things. So there was, I guess those are the kind of the theme or the trend to my answers. But for Magic Kingdom, the first one I wrote down was because we don't have a trip planned, full family trip planned currently. So my assumption is by the time we get back to the Magic Kingdom, Tiana's Bayou Adventure will be open. So that, getting on that will be a priority for our next trip. The second priority I put was to make it more of a priority to do more of the shows, We did some of them last trip, but it was kind of like just a filler thing. Like we went to the Tiki Room, but we didn't get to Country Bears or Hall of Presidents and stuff like that. So I kind of want to like make that more of like a focus. Like we are going to do these. We are going to like find some time to get in some more of these shows. And then my third one, which probably kind of ties into that, and it definitely fits into the whole vacation of the vacation, is I think next trip I want to plan to have 2 days at Magic Kingdom. We haven't done more than 1 day in our last several trips. And I think it's just they've been very productive days, but it's kind of felt like getting to thing. And then at the end of the day, we were counting like, oh, we got all these things done. It's like, it's great. We had a great day and stuff like that. I don't want that to be the only kind of measure that we were looking at. So,
well, that's a very good point, and that's interesting. It's interesting that we're evolving with the way we like. If you asked us at the beginning of this podcast in 2020, like our answers would be completely different.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that you want to do Magic Kingdom twice because I'm thinking about all your past trips. They've all been like 2 days, 3 days, or attached to like a family vacation, seeing friends down in Florida that you kind of did like a half and half, or the Universal Magic Disney trip that you did, or smaller trips and stuff like that. So like, I guess your trip over the summer was like your first full week at Disney in quite some time.
And even that was only 4 regular park days. So and I did put down here, or at least start there 2 times. So maybe we're not ending both days, maybe a park hoppers or something like that. But I want to have more than just the 1 day, because then I feel like it'll be easier to do more of those. Let's go see Hall of Presidents. Let's just sit down and chill for a bit versus we only have 1 day here. We got to get in everything we want to get in.
If I had infinite money and time, I would love to be able to be like follow you and your family around with the camera and not know that I'm there and just watch you in your own element in the environment and kind of put like the BBC like documentary voice behind here and just watch you around, because I've always done 2 Magic Kingdom days, right? I've always started and ended my trip with Magic Kingdom. You start. I think we talked about this. If you go back 3 years ago, how long have we been doing this shit? 4 years almost now.
This is our 4th year. So
yeah. So like in the beginning, it's like I need the happily ever after vibes at the beginning of my trip, and I need to end with those vibes at the end of the trip, right? And this is the first trip where we're not doing that. We're doing it like you did, Magic Kingdom, and then the party day right after. Like it's sandwiched together, and the vibes are really cool because by the time if you're doing like just a week, maybe you're doing 5 park days at the beginning and the end. The second Magic Kingdom day is almost like, here's the best way I can explain it. You are super psyched to be in Magic Kingdom the first day, right? It's your first day of your trip. You're getting all the good Magic Kingdom vibes and feels and all the stuff that comes with seeing the castle. And then you have this adventure of all week. Like whatever you do, you're having a great time, you're jamming. And then by the time you get back to Magic Kingdom to end it, it's almost whimsical to me when I've ever done it, because you're back to where you started. It's been such a long trip that's jam-packed if you took a trip like that you barely, quote unquote, barely remember the first day because you haven't decompressed yet since that first rush. And you get a nostalgia kick for being there, and then you get a nostalgia kick right away for the vacation that you're still on. And it's a great way to kind of wrap up your whole stay. So I hope you get to try it with your next trip. I think it'll be great for you to do that. And I think the only way it doesn't count beginning and ending is if you do like Universal, like right after. Like you can't do. It'd be interesting if you could sandwich a Universal trip in the middle of a Disney trip. I'm curious to see how that works planning wise. Anyway, conversation for like 2 years from now when Universal Epic Universe is open. All right, we're slowing down here. Adam, I'm going to give you a Magic Kingdom Party Edition. And we already talked this. So my priorities that I have is don't get sucked into doing rides. I have to be extremely cognizant of being able to walk past, I don't know, Haunted Mansion with like a 5-minute wait time and say, all right, let's go on Haunted Mansion. Oh, let's go check out Pirates. Bet you we can walk out there. I gotta pull myself out and be able to like, we don't have to go on this right now. We're gonna enjoy the music and the entertainment and go get a cookie or something else like that. Exactly. So I gotta make sure I stay away from that. We got to beat one character. That's one of my priorities. Can take advantage of the fun stuff. And my kids are leaning to Jack and Sally, which is making me kind of go, ooh, because that's a major one.
Yeah.
And watch all the entertainment like we said before. Okay, so Animal Kingdom. Did you have a party edition one, or you just?
I didn't do a party edition.
Okay,
no.
Well, not good, but like we can move on. Sorry.
Like,
Animal Kingdom. Here's mine. These are priorities. I don't often meet these priorities, but the first one is to wake up early for rope drop, which is tough. I believe up until last week, Animal Kingdom was a 9 o'clock open, and they moved it back an hour, so it's an 8 o'clock open, which means it's a 7:30 rope drop for resort
Yeah, it's
guests.
early.
My wife and I did it when we went for our adults only trip. I don't know if I can get my kids to do it. We're going to try. That's my priority, is attempt to do that. Set expectations, see if we fail. I have a ride. It's a safari. We always got to do the safari every single time we go to the Animal Kingdom. And this trip around, I kind of took some of what you were leaning to, doing something you didn't do the last time. I want to do the walking trails. We did the Maharaja Trail. That's the one with like the bird sanctuary.
Yeah, and then the tigers are in that one.
Tigers, right? Yes. So we did that one last year. I want to make sure I do Gorilla Falls too, as well. What are yours for Animal Kingdom?
So interesting. My first one is your last one, is Animal Trails.
Okay.
Because I think we only partly did the ones on like the Discovery Island and stuff like that. We didn't really make them a priority. So I definitely want to have more kind of wandering time, and the Animal Trails are a great spot for that.
Yep.
My second one was getting to Nomad Lounge. We didn't get to do that last trip, so I think that's something we want to do. I don't know if I would commit to doing Tiffin's again, so this is kind of like, this is where we're going to relax and chill and have a good drink and that sort of thing. So that's going to be that.
That's a good point. Like we are planning to do Nomad Lounge. I don't know how hard it's going to be to like waitlist that. Like I don't mind waiting long, because I want that to be the last thing we do before we go back to the resort, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I put it in an hour before we technically want to do it, is it going to take an hour, or is it going to be like cold right away? So it's going to be interesting about that. Sorry for that.
And then my last one, which I think, again, it's just because we haven't done it in a while, but I do want to do an evening in Animal Kingdom at some point. We haven't seen Pandora all lit up in a while. We haven't, I saw it with the hours. It's going to be open later for you too, so you might get to see,
Nope, mine's not open in an hour.
Oh, it's not open later? Okay,
Yeah,
so some of the days they moved it later, so you get to see the tree and stuff like that. So I
It
don't know.
will be
We've
dark though.
Yeah.
Because it does close at 7.
Yeah. So the last few trips, we've just done a lot of early get into Animal Kingdom and then either hop to another park or just leave. So we haven't seen Pandora in a while and stuff like that at night. So I think that would become a priority for a future trip.
I had the mistake last time we went with the kids, Animal Kingdom at night. I did the same thing. I need to see Pandora at night. I don't know the next time we're going to go in the winter time where it gets dark early and the park's still open that we'll get to see it. Because I think you can only really do it in the winter, because I don't think the park even closes late enough in the summer.
Yeah, sometimes you can start. I mean, in the summer, it's open later usually. So maybe like the last hour or so, Pandora's starting to light up and stuff, but it's definitely better in the winter.
Yeah, and I saw it. I was rather disappointed with it. And I don't know, it could be my fault, though, before we start impinging on the Animal Kingdom fans out there. It was crowded. I wanted to see it, so my wife was tired and wanted to go. I was like, no, I need to see Pandora. So I hustled all the way back there, dragging all the kids, carrying my youngest daughter. And it wasn't like my wife was going to kill me because we were running around. She hates rushing and just pushing. She's not a commando park goer, right? She's more of easygoing type of person. She slows me down, but in a good way, right? Like I need to be reined in sometimes because I go crazy. And I walked through it. We were able to kind of see it a little bit. It was very crowded when we went there at night because everybody had the same idea. And I was not very impressed. Some of the effects my 5-year-old or 4-year-old at the time was like, oh, look, there's just lights in the background. It's just a light bulb. Ha, 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 ha. I'm like, okay, let's move on. I was expecting more bioluminescence, more glowing.
I think it's just nice but it is nicer if you're just wandering and kind of taking it in. I love the sounds. They turn up like the sounds of all the insects and stuff like that. But I totally get what you're saying. If you're just like rushing over and like expecting to be like blown away and like transported, blah, blah, blah. And it's maybe not that world changing type thing.
Well, I mean, I'm blown away every time I walk in during the day.
Sure.
Right. So I was expecting like, not maybe equal to it because I've been there already, but more like, ooh, this is great. Other than, oh, this is cool. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving on. Epcot's a really easy one. We already talked about it. I'm Journey of Water at night, World Celebration at night, the fireworks. I mean, like all the new stuff. I'm seeing all the new stuff. That's a priority. And the only thing that I am not nervous. And it's funny that the video came out today was mentioned this. I don't know where to watch the fireworks. Where should I prioritize standing? And it seems like it doesn't matter, right? But does it? So maybe we'll find out in the next couple of weeks which is the best place to
Yeah,
stay
I'm
for
sure you'll see
fireworks.
video from a few angles and kind of just pick one, or else just go. Where did you go when you watched Illuminations? I know outside Canada was always good, or stuff like that. So you
I'm
probably
going
just do that.
twice. I'm gonna try 2 different spots.
There you
so
go.
we'll do it. So what about you for Epcot? I'm assuming it's the same.
It's pretty similar. I put the new stuff as one of them, Luminous and Dreamers Point and all that stuff. One thing I put was because we got to see Journey of Water, but only during the day. I really want to see it at night, so that would be a priority. And then the other one was I felt like last time we had big plans for the festival booths and we didn't really get to execute on that. So I want to have a better plan.
What does that look like, though?
I don't know. That's what I got to figure out.
I'm thinking about that too. Like, what is the plan? Like, is it because we're like, oh, some people say, okay, well, one day you do World Showcase, one day you do rides. I'm like, you just can't do that with 3 kids just like wandering. Like, that's like 3 hours. Like, so what is a better plan for eating? Is it to me, it's like you kind of let go where your heart takes you and that type of thing.
I think I need to have a better memorizing of where each booth is and what's at each booth. Not like memorizing every single element, but like, okay, here are the 5 things I really want to try. And I know where they are around World Showcase, so that if we're by Morocco and that's when we decide we want to eat, it's like, oh, I know the 2 booths near here that have something that I really want, versus, oh, we're hungry, there's the closest booth, is there something there I want?
Yeah,
like that type of a thing.
I guess that's the best way to do it. Hollywood Studios, last one, top 3 priorities is always getting Slinky Dog Dash Lightning Lane because it's the worst line anywhere. I'll wait on any of the other lines in that park. I hate the Slinky Dog standby line. It's just, I hate the cutbacks constantly through the whole thing. Very frustrating. Feels like it never moves. The next one is stacking. Like, Hollywood Studio is a stacking park.
Yep.
And then, of course, I always have to have my margarita from Sunset Boulevard. It's what is it? Sunset. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the stand that sells a really delicious margarita inside. But anyway, those are mine. And the reason why I struggled with Hollywood Studios, because I think it's slowly turning into my least favorite park, even though it has some of my favorite rides in it. It's just like that process of being in that park is just too. It's too mechanical. Like, it's all about GD plus just to get the most out of it. That park is awful at navigating because you got dead ends. You've got kind of ugly parts to kind of go around. It's not efficient at wandering. And that, I think if they start opening up that park all the way around, it might get a lot better. So it's slowly becoming my least favorite. So because it's my least favorite, it's me trying to be able to do that in a half a day, get all the rides in a half a day, because the park is absolutely gorgeous at night. And that's where I put a lot of my focus of wanting to be there. But then again, by the time I get there at night, I've spent a very long day in line, getting hot and sweaty, and it's kind of, people are tired and want to go home at that point when I want to just kind of relax. What are yours for Hollywood Studios?
So I picked, one was Riding Tower of Terror. I can't even remember the last time I've ridden it because my kids each rode it once and then said never again. This last trip, some of them were entertaining the idea, but we actually had fast passes for it, but we ran out of time, or lightning lanes for it. So I think getting on it would be a priority for our next trip. One is, I wrote down drink and chill. I didn't know the best term for it, but it's having some kind of chill out area. In the past, we've done like the lounge at the Brown Derby or Baseline Tap House, somewhere where you kind of just sit and kind of regroup and veg and kind of rest for a little bit. Because like you said, it can become a bit of like a checklist park where you're just kind of going from thing to thing to thing. So I want to have some downtime.
Let me give you 2 pieces of advice for simple things. I've done this both times I've been there. One forced, one planned. So the planned one was, if you go, I don't know, about 50 yards in front of Hollywood Vine, there is a cart that sells like Jack Daniel's slushies and other ice cream and whatever. We sat like on the curb. I had my Jack Daniel's slushie. My kids all had like their Minute Maid lemon icy whatever, and we just kind of sat in the shade. Goofy and his son were out kind of walking around by Echo Lake, and we just sat there for like 20 minutes, like having a snack and just kind of watching character interactions and stuff like that. It wasn't a very busy part of the park, so that was cool. You had a drink, we chilled. Only issue is not a lot of seating. There was like one bench that it was taken up by other people. And then the forced one was because of the rain, and we were on Hollywood Boulevard, basically right across from like where the Starbucks is. Mm-hmm. And there's some windows there that are kind of deep inset, and the kids are kind of able to sit in the windowsill and be covered. I got a beer or a margarita at the time, and we just my wife got a nice yummy coffee drink from Starbucks, and we just kind of sat there watching the rain, and it was actually rather pleasant because it's can't do anything, but it's nice to kind of just listen to the music and watch everybody else struggle and run around, and we're just having a nice, lovely drink. So those are my 2 suggestions for that.
Keep those in mind. And then my last one is just something we have to do every time at Hollywood Studios, which is see Fantasmic. So
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. The only thing I haven't done at Hollywood Studios, maybe I can add to it, is do Oga's Canteen. I've never done that.
Oh, yeah.
I've had it booked and I've canceled it every single time because my wife's not a big drinker and we've had kids and it's not the best kind of thing to do.
Yeah.
Especially with a family of 5, with 5
Yep.
people going in there.
No, I gotcha.
So one day soon. All right. So last week we played a game, Would You Rather? And Phil dropped that into Discord, and that got a bigger reaction than our DBC engagement question of the week. And you've tabulated all the responses, Phil. So you did all the work. What did everybody say?
Yeah, so a couple of them, it was kind of interesting to see. I was wondering if answers would be all over the place or if everybody would be concentrated on like one answer. And it seemed like for 2 of the questions, 100% of the people answered the same side. So one of them was, would you rather do Jollywood Nights or Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party? Knowing it, even if it's not your first time doing that, 100% of the people said they'd rather do Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. So I don't know if that's just based off of reviews or just because it's more to do and that sort of thing. But that's what 100% of the people said.
I would be interested if we asked that question again in January after, because like that was basically almost after all like the bad reports and all the good reports didn't get saturated. Because apparently right now it's a very fun event, and there's a couple of critiques people have. I wonder if that changes once that idea saturates.
Yeah, or if they come next year when they announce like, hey, we've learned and we've like expanded and added and stuff like that. And then the other one where 100% of the people answered the same thing was, would you rather expand Magic Kingdom or Disney's Hollywood Studios? 100% of the people picked Hollywood Studios.
Very interesting. I might flip flop back. What did I pick on the show? Did I say
I think
Hollywood Studios?
We both said Hollywood Studios.
Yeah. I mean that's the right thing, but
it's the park that needs it the most.
Yeah,
I think that's
for sure.
Just to quickly go through the other ones. So would you rather, if you're on a trip, would you rather only do Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom or only Epcot and Hollywood Studios? 67%. So the majority of people said only Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom. Most of the people that answered that said they can't imagine going to Disney World and not going to Magic Kingdom. So it's understandable. Would you rather watch all the MCU movies or all the animated movies? Everybody except for one person said the animated movies. I think it was TL Madden just said he found some of the animated movies a little kind of boring and plain and stuff like that. So he would find more fun watching the MCU ones. Surprise your kids or plan with them. The majority of people, only 2 people said they wanted to surprise them. Majority of people said they like to plan with the kids. Would you rather do 3 family trips or 1 family, 1 adult? All but one person said do the 3 family trips. So I think most people took 3 versus 2.
Yeah.
But I think also people like being with their kids. And then the last one.
Let me say, if we ever do this again, should I ask 3 family trips or 1 family trip, 1 adult only trip, and 1 solo trip? So at least you get the same amount of Disney trips.
I mean, interesting. I still think most people would pick with their family versus that, but I do think some people are just like, I'd rather do 3 trips than 2.
Oh yeah, I think so, for sure.
And then the last one was, would you rather do 1 Disney cruise or 2 Walt Disney World trips? And this is the only question. It was evenly split, 50-50. Half the people said they would rather do a Disney cruise, and half the people said they would rather do 2 Walt Disney World trips. I think the ones that did the Walt Disney World trips, I think somebody just said they don't like cruising, so that was that. And then other people were like, I'd rather do 2 trips than 1. But a lot of people are like, either they love cruising or they just have never done one. So given the option, they would love to do one.
Fair enough. I like that. That kind of shows you where people's heads are at in a moment of time. So that was pretty cool. And then last week's DBC engagement is, if you've never been or has been a while, what would motivate you to go on a Disney cruise? Wheezy wrote in and says, hearing the interview makes me want to do one, but I think I'll have to wait until I have kids before doing anything, because he wants to take the benefit of the clubs and having adult time and all this other stuff, which is actually true. I mean, like if you're going by yourself or with friends and it's not a family environment, it's very expensive to do that, and potentially you can get the same vibes on just going to the parks. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, there was
Mom of Six. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just to that last point. So Mike, who was on our show last week, was engaging with people in this conversation and kind of was pointing out. But there was other conversations about this, and people definitely agreed. Like one of the best parts of a Disney cruise are the kids clubs. So having kids in that optimal age range is like makes it kind of maybe more worth the money versus other options because their clubs are so much better. But people also did point out, like, look, you could actually, if you're just adults, you could still have a great time. Just like if you're just adults, you can have a great time at Walt Disney World. So don't think like you can't go if you don't have kids. But it was also understandable by most people that would be, if there's an optimal time, that would be the time. If you're only going to do one cruise, Disney cruise, you're going to do it when the kids are kind of kids club aged.
And I think a lot of the motivations were money, ultimately underlying a lot of that type of stuff. And then Mama of Six said, we've done some cruises with several other lines, and honestly, I can't see the value of paying such a significant higher cost for a Disney cruise. We did the Princess Cruise this summer, 12 nights, to the British Isles. It was the same price as a 5-night Disney British Isle cruise. And it basically comes down to price. So I don't think Disney's discounting any of their cruises because that business is actually booming quite a bit.
Yes.
So we're gonna have to be waiting quite a bit for any.
Yeah, and I did chime in on this because obviously I've done other cruise lines and I've done Disney Cruise Line. I do get why Disney costs more. It is hard though when you're looking at somewhat comparable cruises that are like half the price. It's like I would pick Disney if it was 10%, 50, maybe 20% more. But when it's like 100% more, it's like it's really tough.
It's double. So those are good. We appreciate those for contributing to the conversation. We want to thank Mike last week for coming on and then hopping back on Discord and engaging everybody in the question. That was really awesome. So we definitely do appreciate that. Next week, we want to ask everybody, what are the Disney stories of 2023? What are some of your favorite things? Maybe they're just additions. Maybe they're movies. Maybe it's a trip. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe it's some just random story. I don't know. Maybe it's your favorite Disney toy you bought for a grandchild or sibling.
It's your favorite podcast.
Oh, well, you better be answering that question. We had, who was it? Oh, gosh, I don't remember the name, and I'm sorry, who was sharing the background of his podcast on Spotify. He was listening. Changed to the holiday things coverage. I like that. So everybody should post that for sure. But yeah, because it's the end of the year. In a couple of weeks, we're going to
so just looking back on 2023, like what kind of are the biggest Disney stories of 2023 that you remember when you look back on this year?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then the week after that, obviously, we're going to be doing our predictions for 2024.
Yep.
So we're going to fit in one of those, looking back, going over our predictions from last year, and then making predictions for next year also. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I totally forget what we predicted for this year, and I can't wait to see how wrong we were about everything.
I looked at it the other day, and I have to say there were quite a few things we weren't that bad on, and then there's a couple things it's like, wow, we were way off.
Oh, I can't wait to read it. I have not looked, and I'm waiting to pop this back. Maybe we'll do this. Maybe for that show, you'll be holding the list, and then ask me what the prediction question was, and I'll try to guess what we predicted a year ago. That'll be fun. All right, great. I think that's it, right? I think we
just a reminder of our social media accounts if you want to hit us up there. Twitter, Insta, X, Threads, Facebook, YouTube, we're all at the DBC Pod. Of course, our Discord server, and did want to welcome, we have a new YouTube subscriber, Jake Whittle. So thanks for subscribing, and everybody else out there listening, hit subscribe, hit the thumbs up, post a comment, write a review, any of that, whatever you feel motivated for the holiday season to do for us, that would be appreciated.
Yes, thank you so much. And have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.